Hey folks, you are right in time. My name is Galleon, and today's video is going to be a little bit different and perhaps a touch provocative. If you've been around this channel for a while, you'll know that I don't spend any time with clomage brands and watches. Those watches that, let's be honest, often walk a very thin line between inspired by and your lawyer would like a word, preferably with a cease and desist letter in hand. But this isn't just a watch review. This is a story. It's a dive into a specific business model, a reflection on the fascinating world of factory brands, and a deep look at San Martin's remarkable evolution. And yes, we will absolutely take the time to dissect every spec and every glimmer of that dial work and share what I truly liked and perhaps didn't like about wearing this watch on my wrist. Now, let's be crystal clear. This isn't a sponsored video. I bought this watch with my own hard-earned money, purely out of intellectual curiosity. And I'll say this up front as well, this will probably be the only San Martin I review on this channel, and likely one of the very few, if any, Chinese factory brands I ever cover in depth. It's not because they don't deserve the attention, quite the opposite actually. It's simply not what I personally collect and enjoy, and frankly, there are many fantastic YouTubers who live and breathe in this specific niche, doing an incredible job. But when a brand like San Martin, which has built its foundation on meticulous clomaging and homaging, dared to pivot from being a mere replica factory to, dare I say, a cultural storyteller with this particular piece, the SN0144CG, well, I felt absolutely compelled to step in. This watch, this particular moment is, in my opinion, their coming of age. But before we get into it, if you'd like to skip the storytelling bit, I've put timestamps in the video to indicate where the review of the watch starts, so feel free to skip ahead. But let's get into it. San Martin's story begins in 2016, a relatively recent entrant in the grand scheme of horology. It was founded by Mr. Liao Jiaming, a military veteran whose background perhaps instilled in him a foundational appreciation for precision and robust construction. Their home base? Dongguan, China. And if you've never heard of Dongguan, allow me to paint a picture. It's a sprawling industrial powerhouse, a manufacturing heartland where countless products, including a significant number of watches you've probably owned, knowingly or not, were brought to life. San Martin's initial rise wasn't just some happy accident. It was a bit of a calculated evolution. They began their journey, like many Chinese manufacturers, as OEM manufacturers, otherwise known as original equipment manufacturers. They were the silent, behind-the-scenes builders for countless microbrands that you see popping up today with Instagram perfect renders, slick marketing, and big Kickstarter promises. Imagine, San Martin was quietly perfecting their craft, building watches for others. But somewhere along the way, a crucial strategic shift occurred. San Martin, in essence, thought, you know what, we're building these fantastic watches for other people. Why don't we put our own name on the dial? And that's when things truly got interesting, and their direct-to-consumer brand, San Martin, was born. Their early offerings were, let's not sugarcoat it, direct clomages. There was the unmistakable Tudor Black Bay Riff, the uncanny Rolex Explorer clone, the Seiko Tuna lookalike, and honestly, they weren't just good, they were surprisingly good. We're talking about features like solid end links, genuine sapphire crystals, often ceramic bezels. Specifications you typically expect on watches retailing for 2, 3, or even 4 times their price. In fact, if you scour the mega threads on What You Seek forums and extensive discussions on Reddit's R Chinese watches, you'll find that by around 2019, San Martin had firmly established itself as the go-to name on AliExpress for anyone who wanted a well-built clomage without feeling like they were buying from some anonymous pop-up brand. They earned trust through consistent quality for the price. San Martin's success in this domain was not an accident. They had a willing and enthusiastic audience. But who exactly are these clomage-loving buyers, and what motivates them? It's far more nuanced than just budget-conscious individuals or first-time watch owners. Certainly, it includes people who love the aesthetic and the feel of a luxury watch, but quite simply can't or won't stomach the idea of spending 5 figures to own one. It's enthusiasts who want to experience the iconic silhouette of a Tudor Black Bay 58 or Rolex Explorer on their wrist without incurring the infamous luxury tax that comes with the heritage name. There is perhaps something liberating about saying a big FU to luxury brands by buying Clomages. But it's also increasingly seasoned collectors who simply appreciate well-made watches, regardless of the name on the dial. They're chasing tangible quality, not just brand prestige. They appreciate the value proposition, the robust specs, and the increasingly refined finishing that brands like San Martin can offer. And then there is another fascinating group that San Martin is beginning to attract. Those who appreciate the marriage of cultural authenticity and quality. People who are beginning to perceive that San Martin isn't just about making copies anymore. They're slowly but surely building watches that say something about them, about their own evolving identity, not just something about, a Swiss luxury watch. This shift is subtle but profound, and it's embodied perfectly in the watch we're about to deep dive into. In a move that should surprise absolutely no one even mildly familiar with San Martin, they've stuck to the tried and true Rolex Oyster Perpetual style case and accompanying Jubilee bracelet. It's a formula they've leaned into heavily across many of their recent flagship releases. And honestly, who can blame them? It's a versatile case design that San Martin has come remarkably close to perfecting from a manufacturing perspective. It's the kind of workhorse case that microbrands like Traska continue to capitalize on as well. Sporty yet elegant, capable of dressing up or down. On paper, the specs are very respectable. A 39mm case diameter, a highly wearable 46.5mm lug-to-lug distance, and a remarkably slender 10.1mm thickness. But what really impresses here is how those numbers translate to real-world comfort. It sits flat, hugs the wrist thanks to those curved lugs, and just disappears under a cuff. The case features primarily brushed surfaces, with polished chamfers running the length of the lugs. And here is where San Martin's manufacturing skill really shines. The transitions between brushing and polishing are crisp and immaculate. You won't find sloppy finishing here. This is a level of case execution you'd expect from watches easily double the price from household brands. The screw-down crown is signed with San Martin's familiar 3D hexagon logo. It's smooth to operate for a Miyota 90S5 automatic movement, but let's be honest here, there's nothing to write home about. It's functional, it works, but it's not particularly memorable. Working together with the screw-down caseback, the watch comes with 100 meters of water resistance. Flipping the watch over, you'll find said caseback with a stamped Chinese seal that reads "Made in San Martin," inspired by the traditional porcelain base marks made on Jianzhang pottery. It's a thoughtful cultural touch, one that links the modern watch to its Chinese artistic roots. It won't exactly start conversations at dinner parties unless you have a weird habit of taking off your watch at the table, but it's a meaningful detail nonetheless. Beating inside is a Miyota 90S5 automatic movement, beating at 4 Hz or 28,800 beats per hour with an estimated power reserve of approximately 42 hours. It's been around long enough now to have proven itself as a reliable, serviceable caliber, and in this particular piece, I've checked its regulation in 3 positions and I'm happy to report that mine is running surprisingly well, getting just an impressive 1 second per day with almost no deviation. Hacking seconds and hand winding are of course standard features here. The 90S5 also helps keep the case slim, which adds to the versatility and comfort of this watch. And the smooth sweep of the seconds hand is a nice bonus at this price point. But let's be honest here, the real hero, the absolute star, is that dial. It's inspired by Jianzhang porcelain, a craft that dates back over 1,000 years to the Song dynasty, known for its radiant glazes and complex, shimmering patterns. San Martin has captured that spirit here, and the result is nothing short of mesmerizing. This particular model features a turquoise, somber style with an oil-pressed Jianzhang texture that dances with the light. Seriously, the dial doesn't just catch light, it plays with it. From some angles, it glows with a soft, almost ethereal blue. Tilt your wrist ever so slightly, and deep turquoise hues burst forth, shimmering, like the surface of a rippling pond. And it's not just a color. The applied indices, tall, glit, and shaped like Chinese numerals in the infinite cardinal positions, stand proudly above the dial, creating real depth. They're generously filled with BGW9 lume, which glows a crisp electric blue. It's evenly applied, bright, and it gives the watch a three-dimensional architectural presence. Now onto the hands. Perfectly proportioned, carrot-shaped hours and minutes, accompanied by a slender needle second hand with a beautifully balanced canonical counterweight. It's a small, almost imperceptible detail, but it brings an immense amount of harmony and visual balance to the entire dial composition. Framing this masterpiece is a delicate golden railroad minute track that wraps around the periphery, adding a subtle touch of vintage charm and understated luxury. It's a quiet addition, but it ties with the entire complex aesthetic together beautifully, like a fine thread weaving a tapestry. Alas, as with most things in life, it's not perfect. Strangely, and in my view, regrettably, San Martin has reverted to using their italicized English branding on the dial. While the more familiar shield-style logo might have slightly cluttered an otherwise clean and visually striking dial, this felt like a missed opportunity to lean into branding that actually reflects the cultural story this watch is trying to tell. It's an odd, almost regressive step that leaves the watch with a faint but persistent identity crisis. This dial speaks to a certain cultural depth and modern design, yet the logo still feels like it's clinging to an outdated, uninspired script. The 5-link Jubilee bracelet that San Martin has decided to pair the Azure with is machined to near perfection. The brushing and polishing are beautifully executed, the edges are smooth, and there is a lovely taper from 20mm at the lug down to 16mm at the clasp. It hugs the wrist with just the right amount of articulation and feels refined, solid, and comfortable. But then, that clasp. San Martin has gone with their familiar chunky clasp here, the same one you'll find across many of their sportier models. Functionally, it's fine. It's secure, easy to operate, and features on-the-fly adjustment, which is genuinely handy throughout the day. But stylistically, it is a bit of a mismatch. The rest of this watch is elegant, slim, and refined. And then you get this big chunky clasp that looks like it belongs to a dive watch. It doesn't ruin the experience, but it does detract a little from what could have been a truly cohesive design. And frustratingly, San Martin still hasn't added quick-release spring bars to this bracelet. It's a missed opportunity. On a watch that could so easily become a strap monster, the ability to swap bracelets on the fly would have elevated the everyday user experience considerably. It's not the end of the world, however. The Azure's 20mm lug width is one of the most flexible strap sizes you can get. Whether you're a NATO strap fan, love a good leather, or you're partial to tropical rubbers, you'll find endless options that will fit this watch perfectly. That vibrant, playful dial and dial furniture, though, does lend itself to sportier and dressier occasions. There is not an atom of tool watch in this design. A suede strap will dress down for casual weekends. Throw it on a brown croc strap and you've got something a little more formal. A rubber strap might work, but those I do have on hand would do it more harm than good. Price-wise, this watch currently retails for around 520 Australian dollars or approximately $340 US. And it's worth pointing out, this isn't bargain basement territory anymore. San Martin is clearly making a deliberate push upmarket, and the level of meticulous execution here shows they're taking the ambition seriously. They've already proven themselves to be serious contenders in the entry-level space, comfortably outpacing more established vanilla offerings like the Seiko 5, the Hamilton Jazzmaster, or the Tissot PRX. And with the Azure, at least in my view, they firmly position themselves at the front of the pack. So here's the big question, the one that lingers after experiencing a watch like the Azure can. Can San Martin ever truly achieve the same kind of deference, the same kind of serious horological respect that brands like, for example, Atelier 1 now rightfully command? Atelier 1's undeniable success isn't just about their exquisite design language. It's profoundly about consistency, about meticulous cultural storytelling, and a deep, almost reverential connection to Chinese art, history, and craftsmanship.
They've made that their explicit mission, their very raison d'etre, and the market has without question rewarded them with serious respect and admiration. San Martin, though, they are undeniably on their way, and the SN0144CG Azure is a powerful statement. But they need to keep pushing. They'll need to shed the last vestiges of the homage DNA and fully, unequivocally embrace their own unique brand identity if they want to be taken seriously on the same elevated level. This means more intentional, consistent, original designs, fewer direct copies, and a clear brand narrative that doesn't rely on evoking others. And if I'm being honest, after spending time with this watch, I genuinely believe San Martin has what it takes. They've proven their manufacturing prowess, they understand the market trends intimately, and they're clearly cultivating a real design talent. The question isn't whether they can break free from their homage roots, it's whether they want to. Walking away from the highly profitable clomage market, where they firmly establish themselves as the go-to maker of high-quality replicas, would mean turning their back on a proven formula. And with the enduring pull of Rolex and its peers keeping that demand alive, making a clean break might not just be difficult, it might nearly be impossible.
The San Martin Azure is far more than just a good watch. It's, in essence, a bit of a turning point. It says loudly and clearly, we've observed, we've learned from the best, we've honed our craft, and now we're ready to create something truly of our own, something that stands on its own merit. That's it. This will still probably be my sole in-depth foray into clomage and factory brands on this particular channel, but I am genuinely glad that I took this particular detour. It's incredibly refreshing and genuinely exciting to witness a brand evolve in real time, from humble copy beginnings to being genuine innovators. But what do you think? Is San Martin still largely stuck in its clomage homage roots, or has the Azure and other watches within this model line truly earned them the stripes as an original maker? Drop your thoughts, your experiences, and your predictions in the comments below. I'd love to hear where you stand on this particular evolution. If you found this video insightful or entertaining, please do like and subscribe. It helps my baby channel tremendously and lets me know that I'm making content that you find valuable. As always, keep your watches around so you're right on time. I'll see you in the next one.